Speaking of games, video games, got to ask you about those.
Okay.
But you mentioned Diablo. Maybe you're a fan of Diablo.
Well, yeah, and Diablo
All
2
right.
was great.
Do you
And
like
Diablo 1
Skyrim?
was great. Skyrim was great too. Like the Elder Scrolls. I actually bought the game that the Elder Scrolls was based on. Do you know that? So, way back in the day, the Elder Scrolls series was inspired by a game called Legends of Valor that I played when I was a little kid, and it doesn't actually have an ending. They ran out of money before they finished it, so they just kind of like put this little thing on and said, "Okay," but you never finish it. So I actually bought all the intellectual property
Yeah,
for the game.
saw that. I didn't know there was a connection between Legends of Valor.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Arena and
I forget the name. The guy was it Todd something at Bethesda. He played it. He was inspired by it, and then he created Arena right after playing it.
That was such a good game. Arena, Daggerfall. Yeah.
I had a copy of Daggerfall when I was a kid, but it had a bug, and so when you left the dungeon, it would crash. And this was before like you can get an easy patch for it. So I never actually played Daggerfall. I entered in through Morrowind.
Yeah, no, the Daggerfall was the fascinating thing, which you're jumping all over, but we'll return to Legends of Valor because I want to ask you about that. But Daggerfall was fascinating because I think of all the Elder Scroll games, it was like the largest because it was like randomly generated.
Right.
It would like randomly generate the worlds, the dungeons and so on, which is fascinating to think about. Like how big can you make the world, both in actuality and feel? Like it's incredible to have a video game. I don't know how many video games do this well, where the feeling is you can be lost here forever. You can live here, because most video games have like a bottom. It feels like you can run out of stuff. With Daggerfall was like, I can just keep doing this.
Right.
At least that's what I felt at the time. But yeah, why? What the heck? Legends of Valor. What's the idea there?
Well, I mean, there's really nothing about it that's super compelling today. I mean, there's a nostalgia of youth that's there, but I mean, it doesn't even have a class system, a level system. The combat system is terrible. There's no journal. The magic system is terrible, and so forth. And so I just wanted to start somewhere, and I felt like that would be an incredibly fun overhaul project. I kind of got the idea from Beamdog Studios when they did another one of my favorite games. Remember Baldur's Gate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they did
I love that Baldur's Gate 2.
Oh yeah, the enhanced edition was great. They should have never just done Throne of Ball. They should have done an actual proper sequel and gone down that whole road. But anyway, I got the idea there. I said, well, take some old piece of IP and then you can kind of retrofit it and clean it up. And what's nice about Legends of Valor is it's a blank slate. You can do your own Elder Scrolls. You can create your own class system and level system and so forth. You could write some beautiful, exciting, fun narratives for that. And also it gives me a chance to explore a lot of things I think should be dragged into game development, like algorithmically generated music is one example. Nice. The problem with sound games is, as you mentioned, you play lots and lots of hours, but your sound content is much smaller. So you have tons of repetition in the soundtrack. So what if you could connect the music to the state of the game world and it automatically through some process will generate music? And there's actually people who study this, and so that's one dimension. The other thing is you have things like GPT-3 and so forth. There was a great game, Event Zero, and it came out like 2016 where you could actually have a dialogue with an AI and you're like a marooned astronaut on a space station that's abandoned. And you have to somehow work with this AI through communicating with it to convince you to take you home. But the AI is a bit duplicitous, and I don't want to spoil the plot of the game because it's such a cool game, but it's actually like a paint by numbers. It's almost like Zork, where you don't have pre-selected dialogue. You actually type in the terminal and the AI will reply to you back and forth. And this was 2016. And it's like things have gotten an order of magnitude better. So the evolution of that tech, I think within the next 5 years brought into video games could give you incredibly cool dialogue inside the game. So algorithmically generated music, better dialogue, better gameplay mechanics. Also, I'd love to explore alternative physics systems, alternative geometries like, hyperbolic geometry or these types of things. And there's actually Hyperbolica is a game that does that.
Wow.
And you can do non-Euclidean geometry as well and bring those elements into a game design. And that's what we'll do with Legends of Valor. So it'll be kind of like Skyrim, but with a lot of really cool new shit. It's kind of like, I saw Aerosmith years ago and he was out there. He's like, do you like the old shit? Do you like the new shit? Kind of middle shit, So
you're going for the middle.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do some of the old and some of the new, and bring it in. So that'll be a lot of fun. And what's nice about it is that there's a lot of new play in the market because of the Microsoft acquisition of Bethesda. They've been losing employees like crazy, and there's a lot of belief that Elder Scrolls 6 will not live up to expectations because Microsoft will
I
kill
will
it.
tweet it. Okay, listen to me. I will go into. I'm all about love on the internet, but I will go hard at you, Microsoft, if you screw up Elder Scrolls.
Well, we might have to do a spiritual successor, right? And it
That's
might
true.
have to happen with Legends of Valor. You never know.
All right.
But it's a passion project, so I have no time for it at all. It's like so low on my list of things to do. So I'll probably do it in 2022, 2023, and we'll build a nice crew, and we'll do it in Wyoming, probably in Wheatland or some really small town, and we'll import everybody, and then we'll have to build the whole city up like Elon is doing here in Texas. It'll be a fun project.
Well, I like programmatically generated music. You mentioned Baldur's Gate.
There's, by the way, Haskell frameworks for that. Euterpe is one.
For generating music.
Yeah, for doing for.
I wonder how successful that could be, because I remember Baldur's Gate was the first game where I realized music is so important to the game. It was the thing I remembered about the game. It was the reason that it was the thing I thought about when I was away from the game. Is like that the feeling it created, that music. I don't even remember the music anymore, but I remember the music was.
Jeremy Soule, I think, was the composer.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was,
and actually getting like Raman Djawadi or Bear McCready in to do that, it was just so cool.
okay, this is awesome. Ridiculous question. What's the, maybe let's say, top 3 greatest video games of all time?
Yeah, Baldur's Gate's definitely in the top 3. Arcanum is my favorite game. And Arcanum was, Troika Games was just this amazing studio where they took the time to build probably the most compelling game worlds. In the case of Arcanum, it takes place in like kind of like a 19th century Victorian England play, so steampunk. But then there's also magic inside this game world. And there's this crazy juxtaposition between magic and technology. And the more technology you have, magic stops working. The more magic you have, it disrupts technology. So all the people on the magic side hate the technology people and vice versa. And so you're just this character in this game world, and you're just trying to figure out, like, where do you fit? And it has this incredible plot where you're kind of just a stowaway on a Zeppelin that gets shot down, and you get dragged into this conspiracy, and you have to kind of figure out the conspiracy as you go through the whole game world. And you meet all these different races, like the elves and the dwarves and so forth, and they've all been impacted by the proliferation of technology in different ways. Like the humans use steam engines to clear cut all the forest, and it caused a lot of problems. The dwarves leaked that technology to the humans, and so they kind of got exiled for it and so forth. And you have to decide, like, where do you fit in all this? And you have a lot of choices as a player. You can be on the magic side, the technology side, kind of be neutral. And there's like 40 different endings for the game. It's just incredible. And this is all like 2000. And then you talk about a procedurally generated world. You have a quick travel, but if you want, you can just walk and the world randomly generates. But it's not like Daggerfall where there was interesting things along the way. So it was really ahead of its time. And it was kind of the last of a generation of games. It was based on the same framework that Interplay used for Fallout, the original Fallout, and Fallout 2. So that was really a cool setup.
So how were the graphics? They were not essential to
Oh,
the
it's
gameplay?
isometric, top down. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, kind of like the Fallout look. And so it doesn't hold up super well today, but that was never the point. It was more of a story-driven game. But it was one of the very few games where at the very end of the game, you could actually talk the villain into killing himself instead of fighting you. If you and you had to really work at it. You had to become a master of persuasion and get your charisma score maxed out and learn all this stuff along the way. And you have this philosophical debate over the nature of life and death with him.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then you're just like, by the way, you're wrong, and here's why. And he's like, oh yeah, you got a point. I'm just going to kill myself. And I was like, wow, this is great. Planescape Torment is the other one I think is probably the greatest.
What's it called? Planescape?
Yeah, it's another one on the Infinity engine, which was what was used for Baldur's Gate. So it looks like Baldur's Gate. And God, that was such an incredibly well-written game. You play this character called the Nameless One, this little blue guy, and you wake up in a morgue. And it turns out that you're immortal, and every time you die, you lose all your memories. And so you've just been apparently living this life for a very long time. And you meet all these people in this crazy city called Sigil who know you, but you don't know yourself. And you're trying to figure out your name, your identity, and why do you have this curse where you live forever, but you keep forgetting every time you get killed? And it turns out you weren't such a nice person throughout this entire game world. But then again, it's this question of, well, if you can start over and you lose all your memories, do you have a chance for redemption or not? So it's an incredible game, Planescape Torment. And it's actually another one of those games where you can You can never actually have a fight. You can just kind of talk your way out of everything. And there's probably like 1,000 pages of dialogue inside the game. Those guys had a lot of fun and a lot of drugs making that game.
Do you think these three games are the kinds that would still be okay to play today, or are they forever lost in time because we sort of got desensitized to the richness of computer graphics and all those kinds of things in modern games?
I think you can enhance these games because your storytelling medium is so much more engaging. I was at the movie theater before COVID, and the person to the left of me was looking at their cell phone during the movie, and the person to the right of me was looking at their cell phone. They're just not engaged anymore. Everybody is attention starved. And the video game is one of the last mediums where you have undivided attention of people. They're really into it, man. They're all into that thing. And so I think the fact that you have VR and AR and enhanced graphics and all these new gameplay mechanics, it's a value add instead of a value negative. Because ultimately, what are you doing? You're telling stories and you're trying to connect people to something. Maybe it's the nature of life and death, or are we truly real? Or are we in a simulation or not? Or something like, it'd be great to do 13th Floor as a game or something like that. And the question is, well, how good of a story can you tell? Well, you're constrained by your storytelling tools and technology. The fact that games are so much more advanced now means that you now have many more dimensions of storytelling available to you. And actually with AI now coming in, and really good AI coming in the next 5 or 10 years, your storytelling is not static anymore. The person can actually majorly participate and change the outcome in ways that were previously unpredictable. The other thing is they're still educational. You can teach people concepts that they never knew before. And it's like if you want to teach people about bizarre geometries, or like Minecraft is a great example. A lot of people learned how computers worked from Redstone. Think about that. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we said, we're more and more going to be living in video game worlds. Might as well sort of, as opposed to just make it fun, also expand our knowledge, expand our ability to think, explore different ideas, and do education broadly defined within those video game worlds. So we can do the entirety of life in the video game worlds. Hopefully it doesn't look like Minecraft, but we'll see.